Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Coach on the Sweet Disaster podcast. I am super excited, and I have to tell you, I am honored and humbled to have our next guest on today. It ends up being a friend of a friend of it's a friend of mine's sister, so it's super fun that the world we run in, we are reminded of how small it can be. But Jarna, you have a story that I was telling you is I'm grateful you're willing to share with us, because I want so many others to take away from you such inspiration, such power and strength, and truly just joy. And that even in the darkest moment, we can kind of find the light. We can see the light and through it. And that you're not alone. I was telling you before we started, you're not alone. You're not. And so, Jarna, will you just share, even if just a small bit, about you and your story and what you've got going? Because I think it's so powerful, and I'm excited for others to hear about you.
Cool. Well, thank you for having me on. Also, I'm excited to be here. And I watched some of your other ones too, some of your other podcasts, and I'm excited to be here and talk with you. And thank you for letting me share my story, because I agree, right? There's things that can be learned, and even through uh, sharing what I'm going to share, just warn you, I may cry, right? But that's normal, and it's okay, and it will happen. um, anyway, so a little bit about me. Do you want me to kind of tell you my life story, or do you want just a tad bit there?
Whatever you want to share, whatever you're willing
Okay.
and want to share. Fill us, whatever part works.
Okay, cool. So I am the fifth of 11 children. So I was raised in a very large family. Um, and we were all pretty close. We did all the things that big families do. We had the big van, and that was a good time. We also grew up in a little bit of a construction zone, learned how to build things because we were in a construction zone for years, and that brings its own challenges. But I had I would say, a very great childhood. Things were awesome, and I learned a lot. And I ended up leaving home at about 17. I was maybe 17 and a half when I left home, and haven't necessarily looked back, because my parents really raised us to be independent and go forward and do things. So um, I then had, bumps in the road along the way, just like I feel like most people. Um, I I did door-to-door sales. I went about doing things. Um, I served a mission for our church in Florida when I was in my early 20s. And while I was there, I really felt like I connected to families in a I don't know, it was really special. It was like I had this empathy for them, especially the families that, we've run into them in poverty. And I just felt like I understood, on this different level of how that happens, and how that feels, and how the struggle is. I mean, it's tough. And so after I came back from my mission, I actually went to school and studied families, because I felt like there's something that I was able to see, that if people had more tools, then they can get through more difficult things, and be able to move through them, and instead of get stuck in them. And that was one thing that I really wanted to help help people with. And so I studied families, and uh, then after I graduated, I went on to become a relationship educator for a couple years. And so I taught about parenting and relationship couples, and family relationships, and it was great. And in that time frame also, my life had some difficult things going on, right? So my sister was actually diagnosed with leukemia, um, in 2016, and she struggled with it, right? Cancer is not an easy feat, and it was really difficult. And some days she would mask it pretty well. I didn't really understand how difficult it was, um, and how it just hurt. She had terrible side effects, side effects from the drugs that were not fun. And anyone going through that knows, and anyone who has experienced the drugs or been with a family who maybe you have a family member who has been through chemo, it's just very uncomfortable. And so over the course of the next couple of years, she struggled with the leukemia, and that was difficult. And also in that time frame, so many things, it kind of becomes a jumbled mess. But she helped us build our house. So one of the things that was difficult in my life and in our marriage life, right? We built a house from the ground up. We my brother helped me a ton because he had built his house before, but he kind of taught me how to draw house plans. And it took me a couple months, and between him and sitting at the city building, talking to the building inspector, building coordinator, learning how to draw the plans, I learned how to do some really difficult things. And that whole year and a half was hard, to say the least. I thought that was probably the hardest thing that I've ever done, and to that point, I think it was. Building a house is very difficult when you've never really done it before. And my sister helped me with that a ton, and I had also just had a baby, so it was just so much. And she was close to us. She lived very close by for a while. And we finished the house the end of 2020. So amidst all that too, we had 2020, Everyone loved that year, right?
Right.
So great times. Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. So she helped with that, and she was really like a rock for me, like as I was being a new mom, and just having help is so helpful, right? And just awesome. Um, anyway, so we finished the house in 2020, had a really good time the next year and a half. Things were really good. And in 2021, I had another baby, and he's just the cutest little thing. And my sister came and helped to um, take my other child. While I was having my baby, I had both my children at home, which also difficult things to do, but did it, and it was awesome. And that's for a whole nother story. But um, the second home birth was completely miraculous to me. It was really, really cool. And then a couple months later, my sister ended up in the hospital again, and this time for a longer stay, and it was really difficult. And it was just a really, really rough couple of months where she was back and forth from the ER, and then she was in the hospital for a long stay doing treatment for acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And she had done like the first phase. So in chemo treatments, there's a bunch of different phases, and she had done the first phase, and in that phase, you generally knock out most of the cancer cells. And so at the end of that, she's like, "I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore." Whew. Okay, so she's done. And as far as we knew, there wasn't cancer showing up, so she's good, right? Um, she had a hard time coming off some of the drugs, and in February of 2022, so last year, she ended up overdosing, and she passed away. And at that point, that was the hardest thing I've ever been through. And those things, they come, and it's like, oh, that is hard. And I had a really hard time thinking straight. I had a hard time parenting. I had a little baby at the time, and it was just hard to do things, hard to get up, hard to be happy about things, hard to do life, And for a couple months, that chaos in my head was just really not easy. And in July of 2022, my older sister was talking to me, and we were having a good day, and we were joking around, and she was telling me that you should start a business. And I was like, what would I even do? I have no idea what I would even do for a business. And just out of nowhere, could I take on another hard thing? Sure, okay. So I I was like, you know what? Okay, I what could I do? And it came to me. I make a really, really yummy whole wheat pancake mix. Because from the time I was really young, I made pancakes from scratch, and they're just really good. They taste amazing, and they're really yummy. And after I had kids, I had turned it into a mix so that it was a lot easier to use. And so I had that idea on a Tuesday. And by that Saturday, I was in the farmer's market, excited and selling pancake mix. And for months, that that action of having a Saturday at the farmer's market brought me something to look forward to, and it brought stability to me. And I was like, oh, I really needed that. I needed something to stabilize my brain, to stabilize how difficult loss was, and grieving. And so I started my pancake business, and it went really, really well. It's been going really well. And we had a really awesome holiday season last year, and we did some fundraisers and let so other people use my mix as a fundraiser for their schools, and we all end up winning. It was just awesome, so fun. And then earlier this year, in about February, again, I don't know what it is with February, but I started noticing that my son, my youngest son, was struggling, and he had a terrible rash that wouldn't go away. And I was like, I tried all the things, and it's not going away, and I'm at a loss. And so I took him to a couple pediatricians over the course of a couple months, and he also was really small, and I'm like, I just think something's wrong, and wasn't sure what it was. And the end of April, he ended up having an episode where he almost like passed out on me. And that was really scary, to say the least. I was like, I have not experienced this with any child, and I've seen a lot of children in my life. I've been around lots of kids. I've never seen someone just like pass out while they're about to have a diaper change. That was scary. So I was like, no, 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 no. Like I'm not losing my baby right here. No, no. Okay. So what's going on? And I called a friend who's a doctor and was like, is this normal? And then we talked about some of the other things, that he's small, that like this happened, and this rash. And anyway, we started some blood tests, and over the course of a couple weeks, he started to have these lymph nodes pop out on his neck and on his groin area. And I was just like, and Google's helpful, but not helpful, right? So I Googled, was like, should I worry about lymph nodes being popped out on their neck? Google says three up to 3 weeks, it's pretty normal for kids actually to have lymph nodes pop out because their immune system works in their lymph system. And so, okay, maybe I'm still a little worried. We're still doing blood tests, and the blood tests weren't off the charts. It was not super noticeable yet what was wrong. anyway, he had a day at the end of May that was really rough, and he was crying, wanted to just be held, and really fussy, um, and he just wanted to nurse like the whole time. And I'm like, I've got to be able to do some things at the house. No, I can't. So it was rough, and I called my friend and it's like, this is, or we were texting, I think, and he's like, how do you feel about talking to the doctors at the primaries? And I was like, oh, anything at this point. What can we do to help him? Like, I don't know what's going on. So let's figure it out. And he had a second day where, so one really bad day, and then the next day it was still really bad. And I got a call from my friend at like 3 in the afternoon, and he said the doctor said to bring him up to the hospital right now. And I was like, okay. Jumped in the car, went to the hospital, and stayed there for a long time. So we went there and we had some tests done, and they found a mass in my child's chest that took up almost the whole area of his chest. And they started to explain to us that he probably had leukemia. And I was like, really? Like, ah! I was so irritated and so just like, I've already gone through all this with my sister, and it's so stupid. Like, people say, you know, cancer's stupid. It is stupid. And so they started telling me this stuff, and I was just like, okay, bring it on, because I'm now here. And got my muscles out, and I was like, let's take this on, because I know that this is going to be a beast, but I'm here, and my baby is everything to me, and we're going to do what we have to do. So they started to explain all the things, and I was also still kind of in a daze a little bit, and I was like, wait, what team are you from? Reminding myself that yes, we are actually talking about cancer. We are talking about leukemia, the same leukemia that my sister just had last year. And I'm like, oh man, it was rough, really rough. And I'm still in the thick of it right now. We are about four months in, well, 4.5 months in, and we have another 4 months of really difficult treatments. But I mean, we stayed in the hospital for like 40 days. And if you want to talk about medical trauma, we got it. Want to talk about cancer trauma? We got it. And having to watch your 2-year-old go through that is something else. And it's absolutely been the hardest thing. And we couldn't do it without other people. And my business, again, started to take a back seat for a bit. And then we were kind of thinking through, like, okay, well, do I just stop it altogether? Or do we go bigger and outsource some things? And we decided to do that. So instead of stopping altogether, I've started again doing my business, but we're outsourcing some things and creating it bigger. So now it's actually available in all 50 states instead of just Utah. And we've been able to do some really cool things, and things are shifting right now, and things are growing, and it's starting again to bring that stability, to have something to look forward to that isn't my medical clock, the next medicine time, or the throw up bags, or all the things that we get to deal with. And yeah, it's been crazy. So that's where I'm at. My business is growing, and it's exciting. I'm also definitely growing, painfully growing, with a childhood cancer fighter at this point. Fighter.
I mean, if you could see, I like was sitting here taking all these notes because I'm like, oh, I want to talk about this and I want to talk about that and I want to talk about this and all of this,
Go for it.
the things that I want to talk about. But you just said how you're growing, like the business is growing, which is fantastic, and we'll get into that in a minute, which I'm super excited to talk about. But you also said how you're painfully growing, and sometimes I think we forget that like growth is not always like it can be painful. I have a 12-year-old who's at home and he wears a knee brace to school every day because his legs are growing faster than his ligaments. Like the bone itself is growing faster than his ligaments are growing, and he's dealing with difficulties, and it's painful to grow for him right now. Yet my daughter is 13 and is like 5'4" and had never had issues, like has never had a difficulty with growth, and just it's been wonderful. And we grow, and one moment could be painful and the next be wonderful. And we go through this. And we can't forget, though, that on the other side of that growth is just exponential possibilities and opportunities. And there's a reason why you're being handed this. There's a reason why, and a lesson and something that comes from this, that you are given it. You are given the big struggle and the big difficulties because you can handle it. Now, like you said, you got those muscles, you got them together, and you just said, hand it to me, let's go. And others would just crumble. But as that person, you understand that, you know what, right now it's not comfortable, but I'm going to fight. I'm going to get through this. We are going to do this. And you do it with grace. You stand so tall, even with a burden and a weight that it's very heavy. It is very heavy. Like I told you before we started, is that you are the third in a close circle of friends that have children just diagnosed with leukemia in literally less than 6 months. You are the third person to have been told this. And I just continue to go, I hurt as a mom. Like, I hurt for you. I want to take the pain. I want to be the support. And how can I be the support? And what can I do? And I look at it and I go, this is my avenue. This is how I can help you as the individual share your story with others, because you are not alone. There are, like I just said, 3 and 6 months, you are not alone. But also to help your business, because I mean, why not? Why not help you be able to financially take on this burden and be able to provide, like you said, whether it's fundraisers for others so that they can benefit too, or if it's just truly to help your family be able to handle this and it be one less alleviation of one less difficulty, then why not? And I mean, I've been faced twice with 2 of my kids where I had to see different doctors, and I in my head went, oh no, my child might have cancer. And I could not imagine the actual diagnosis of coming across that and how hard that has to be. I know I was eternally grateful to hear that mine were not cancer. And I was graced with the ability that, I mean, 2 short surgeries and my kids it was removed. It was good. And so I thank Heavenly Father every day that I was able to face that difficulty. And I continue to pray for you and for others that are facing these difficulties that aren't so easy as, 4 stitches. It's bigger. I continue to pray, and I encourage others that you pray to, because and hug your kids just a little harder. Like, that's one thing I'm like always just, as much as we both say we have 4-year-olds, and the 4-year-old stage is
you got this. You got this.
Yeah, hard growth is that moment, that 4-year-old stage as a parent. I just want to like shake them. You want to hug them all at the same time, because you just know that you are graced with such an incredible gift, and you've got to love them hard. But you mentioned, let's go back and talk over all of it in order here so that I don't lose myself. But you talked over home birth, and I think that that is just epic. That is, I give mad props there. My husband is a product of a home birth, and so he's like, I was born in this house that we now live in, and I'm like, I you know,
Right in that spot.
that room, and I'm like, oh, good, glad the girls are sleeping in that room. And I'm just like, I don't know if I could have done that. Like I am one of those, like, I had a midwife, I had that concept. I went through natural births because one, I found out I was allergic to medications. Like I literally couldn't have an epidural. I had to do this like stone cold sober. Um, and so, but I was in medical facilities, and I just don't know if I could have been like, yep, let's hunker down at home. Like I don't know if I mentally would have been able to like calm down to deal
Yeah.
with it. But I guess just like in a quick snippet, like how did you pray? Like how did you prepare for that? How did you do that? Like that is just like it were your was your mom that way? Did she do like home births? So you kind of were like used to this concept? Because like for me, my mom did like we go to the hospital, we medicate, we do the whole thing. And so for me, I'm like, I'm rough riding over here. No medication.
Yeah, good job. Good job doing it. So my mom did have six of us at home. So I definitely was kind of raised in that around that. And my dad actually was a midwife. So he would help deliver babies at home often. So I've definitely around it. I thought, how you go into really difficult things, you think, oh yeah, I can do this. Especially, I was younger and I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this. This is gonna be a cinch. Okay, no, it was horrible. The first birth, I was in labor for 72 hours.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
It was extremely painful and it was horrible. And I was just like, why? Why would anyone do this?
No,
I'm like, give me the drugs.
right. I
So,
think I would like, no, we're done. Like anybody want to like fix this? Done.
yeah.
Like I would. I mean, my oldest was like, I went in and I didn't. I think we were maybe 8 hours full of like full complete labor was maybe 8 hours, and I at the point of time of like finally having her, I was like, somebody needs to figure this out. Like, so I could not imagine 72 hours. I'd be like, somebody is getting hurt after this. Like, I could not. No way.
It was rough. I'm not
No.
gonna lie. But okay, obviously at the end, obviously I have my cute baby, but that was pretty. I would say my first home birth to me, it was pretty traumatic. I had a hard time with that. Having the idea of doing a second home birth, because I had even tried the hypnobirthing stuff. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
go into hypnosis. It doesn't work for me. I don't know how to be hypnotized. It doesn't work. So it was difficult. I had tried and I don't know. I mean, now that I've had a second child too, um, I don't know if I was in heavy labor that whole 72 hours, but it was like you don't know what's happening. And
Right.
so I was having preparation labor and I thought, oh, it's supposed to happen. And it wasn't happening and he wasn't coming out. And it was really painful and it was terrible. So that was rough. But my second child, I have to tell you that I did it again because at the second time, it was honestly decided more because of finances, which is like now after what I've been through this year, I'm like, yeah, had I been through this before my second home birth, I probably would have just said, you know what, we're going to the hospital, we're going to pay all the thousands of dollars and just do it, right? But I'm very glad I didn't. My second home birth was miraculous. I finally understood my body a lot more, and
Yeah.
I was able to like I literally didn't push my baby out. I I breathed my baby out, and that's the weirdest thing to say, but as I did, it was crazy. And the midwife was like not quite prepared because normally I was hysterical, right? Last time I was hysterical. So when I was like, I think he's coming out. He's coming out right now. I'm next breath, he's gonna come out. And she's like, okay, I'll get my gloves on. Taking her time. And she's like, oh no, there he is. Oh, he's actually, you were right. Oh, okay. And he came out and it was wonderful. And as he came out, it was like all the trauma from my first birth went away. It was like, it was so miraculous that I'm like, oh, it all makes sense now. I think that first time you go through something really, really hard, it's hard because you've never done it. You've never been through that. And like the whole thing with cancer with my son, it's like I have been through it in a off like a bystander way with my sister. But it's definitely given me strength and ability to see through this way in a different way. Like I do the research and I'm a part of the team with the doctors and a lot of the moms on our little Facebook groups and stuff, they call the moms momcologists, momcologists, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what you basically become. You learn so much about your child's cancer, and know how to take care of your child. That it's like, anyway, it's crazy. But yeah, so that's how my second birth was amazing.
But
And I would,
I
yeah.
also you become more of your own advocate. You know how to speak up or where to speak up or what this looks like and feels like, and you start to kind of, like I had 4 kids, and so as each one I learned something different about myself and when to advocate, when to speak for myself, but also when it comes to like them growing up, I can register, okay, something's not right with this child. Like I was told many, many times, I mean, for 3 years straight, that my oldest doesn't have ADHD. And I was like, false. Like, I need you to do, like, I need an evaluation. Like, you got to prove me wrong here because I know my kid, like, I know her. And it comes out, they were like, oh, yeah, your child has ADHD. And here you go. And I was like, okay, thank you. Finally,
Yeah.
after all of the questions and doing the research and becoming the advocate and speaking up, you learn when to speak up, when to say something, and not to be silenced, because that's something that I think, whether it's delivering your child or speaking for your child or speaking for yourself, we forget as moms, like so many times, whether it's, like I said, the medical community or others, that were like, well, are you sure? And then you start to second guess yourself. You start to second guess thought processes. You question and you're like, oh, maybe I just need to stay quiet. And really, maybe, I don't know. And then it's like, no. I know something's not right. Even just like you saying, I'm not, like, this isn't okay. I'm going to take him in. We've got to get this figured out. I did the same things with both of my littles when they had masses on their necks, and I like sat there and I was like, oh no, that doesn't look normal. That is not a normal moment in my 2-year-old's throat. Like, no, we've got a problem. And people kind of looked at you funny and they're like, are you sure? What are you talking about? I don't see anything. And then you're like, I'm not hallucinating. Like, I know I'm not. And to speak up is very scary. It's daunting, but like you said, once you go through it, you're like, okay, I can speak up again. It's not as hard. It's not as difficult. I can do the research. I can figure it out, and it's much better. It's much, much better when you can just go through it. You're like, all right, I'm ready. I'm prepared as best I can be. Like, are we ever really prepared for anything that kind of gets thrown at us, especially those big things? I mean, I don't think we ever are. But as you were talking, I noticed another similarity that we have is that loss created a business. And, we find the darkness, or we see the darkness in that moment, and we're just stricken. I lost my cousin September 1st of 2020, I lost my cousin. He was murdered. And in that moment, you're just like, ugh.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it weighs heavy. I became the one of trying to speak for his kids and trying to love his kids and take them under my wing and love them and comfort my aunt and do all these things as that like escape, even though I was trying to still deal with my own things. And you have good days, which are great. And when you can see the good days and you kind of laugh and you're like, it was a good day, but it brought about something incredible. And your great day amidst the darkness brought you light of your business. And that's absolutely just, yes, astounding. Because that's how I lost my cousin on the 1st. By the 23rd, I had a full business ready to go, launch, certified, like it was ready. It was, I had permits, I had all the things. By the 23rd, I was a fully functioning business. And it's been successful. I mean, it's gone places. I've spoken on stages, I've done things, and it's crazy how quick action makes things just happen. I mean, like, do you think you would have sat there and been like, okay, hold on, maybe, I don't know, or were you just like, you know what, I'm going to take this and roll with it? Like, I mean, I took a couple of days, but that was because I was trying to do research and I was like, okay, how do we do this whole thing? Like, I've never done this. And so I was kind of like one of those, like, I need to talk to my accountant and I need to talk to this person and we need to figure it. Like, I was like, I need all of the experts come to me. But like you, less than a week's time frame, fully put a business together, which mad props, love it. Quick action. Do you think you at any point in time were like, maybe we should slow down or maybe I shouldn't do this? Do you think you ever noticed that in that like less than 5 days that you took to put it all together?
I mean, I might have had those thoughts in that time frame, but it was very much like, and I don't recommend everyone do that. Just be like, oh, because there's definitely some things that I had missed, and I could have done more research, and I could have started it better, I guess. It definitely could have been a better startup. But for me at that point, I think that it was exactly what I needed. And throughout honestly, the whole year, I feel like normally when I would start projects or things, like when I started the house, even we got halfway done on the house and we're like, can we just scrap it? Like, I think this is a bad idea. Like, can we just be done? And with the business, I don't know if it was just my sister helping me from the other side or what, but it was very much like, no, just keep going. Just keep going. Keep doing it. Keep moving forward. It's going to be big. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be big. I don't know exactly how, but it's going to get there. And I'm like, okay, we'll just keep going. And I do have siblings that are entrepreneurs and they've done a lot of businesses, and I just haven't ever like really done it, and then this time it was like, just keep going, just keep going. And then I can see now how miraculous it is that it's again helping, like, even if this is all just for my mental health to be able to take care of my children, right? I think that's a win. I can see that it's helping a whole lot more people than just myself, and also I'm not doing it by myself too. Like, I've had to have a ton of help. A lot of people have helped me, and I don't ever want to discredit them. Like, a ton of people helped me on my house too, and like, there's no way I could do it by myself. And this whole cancer journey, there's no way we can do it on our own. That's when you say, well, we're not alone, you are 100% right. We have so many other people helping and helping us along, but I do still have to like reflect, and sometimes I do think, I probably could have done a little bit more research. Probably could have, I could have improved it.
But I think the thing that we, especially as moms, we go, okay, well, it's got to be perfect. We have to have all the answers. It's got to be perfect. It's got to be this. And yet sometimes messy action is just better. Like you even said, yeah, you know what? I would probably say it would have been a better startup if I would have done XYZ. Like we could have fixed this. I mean, yeah. And I look at it and I'm like, yeah, yes, I took 20 days versus less than 7. I took 3 weeks. You took a week. But it doesn't matter. We started. Yes, it wasn't it wasn't perfect. No, it didn't have everything exactly like we would want or could be, or all the things we probably, I mean, I could still be doing more research and I could have started it differently and all the things. And amidst it, yes, you're going to have the really great moments. And yes, there's going to be moments where you're like, and we need to pivot. Like this has got to be going here. And like, you got to change and flow and go with it. And it's just action. Take the action. If it's been laid on your heart, there's a reason why. I look at yours and you're like, I don't know how this is going to be big, but it's going to be big and we're going to just keep on rolling. And I look at mine and I'm like, I don't think I've ever looked at it and been like, I know exactly how we're going to do this. And you're like, yes. And no, I still look at it and be like, I don't know how I'm going to get the next guest. And yet we just said before we started, I had 10 people that I didn't even realize wanted to be guests. And I was like, oh, I now see how I'm going to get the guest. Like you just start to see this kind of, I don't know how, but I'm going to step forward. I'm going to trust and believe, and I'm going to have the faith to keep going and know that, you know what, here we go. We're going to follow the prompting. It's been placed on your heart for a reason. So why not go with it? It sounds crazy. You even started with a childhood dream of this childhood thought process. I make really great pancakes. Like they're awesome. I mean, I've always swore I was going to teach people. I wanted to be a teacher. And now it's like, it's that childhood dream that is coming to reality that we might forget, but ends up coming back full circle for us. And I have to just say how proud I am of you for quick action, for taking action, for not stopping, even in the midst of the hardest times that you're facing. You haven't let it stop you. You continue to go, okay, you know what? Maybe I have to delegate this out. Maybe I have to shift or do or change so that I can be in my phase of mom, where I can be at every doctor's appointment, or, I have to be here, but this is what brings me joy. And we forget that even in the midst the massive situation placed in front of you, you're still willing to look at it and go, I need my mental health. I need me to be happy too. Like I want to be mom, and I will put on the armor of mom and I will carry the world. But mom needs 5. Like mom really needs 5. And this is where you get your outlet. And I feel like so many moms forget that you deserve that outlet too. You deserve that kind of success and joy and excitement. Even if, like you said, even if it is just for your own mental health, like,
yeah. Well, and I think also that like I obviously, and you know this too, but I'm not able to help as much with my children if I'm not well. And so I don't know, I kind of have a different way of thinking about I do all of this because I am a mom, and I love that I'm a mother, and I do have a hard time like with the idea of like, oh, it's for myself. I have a hard time with that sometimes, but I do need to take care of myself to be able to be the best mom that I possibly can be, And so for me, I'm like, I do all this because I am a mom. I am a mom who keeps doing. I don't know.
But think about it. Like you need to do this because you're a mom. You need to do this. Like so many put ourselves so low on the totem pole, and we're like, oh, well, I'll live for them, or I would die for them, and I would do anything
Yeah.
for them. Willing to live? Are we willing to follow a prompting that you're being told to go in a direction? I mean, are we willing to live for them and do because we are a mom? Like, I mean, I feel like sometimes we underestimate, I don't want to say we discredit, but we underestimate the strength of a mother. And I feel
100%.
like exemplify just you know what? They can all be thrown at you, but look what a mom can do. Look what a mom can pull out and continue to just manage, whether it's just above the waterline or not. Like, doesn't matter how well you're floating or surviving, because there's days where you're probably like the water level is right at nose. Like, we are pert near there, guys. And other days you're like, we got it. Like,
Got this. Yeah. We're moms. Yeah. No, I think it's powerful. I think that moms really they're yeah, being a mom is difficult, but like so you just learn how to do lots of different things too. And oh my goodness, I was watching this Mrs. America. I don't know if you've paid attention to any of that, but maybe it's Mrs. USA. But the lady who just won the Mrs. America pageant this year, she's a mom of 7 kids, and she's like a Juilliard ballerina. Like went to Juilliard when she was younger. Anyway, you guys should follow her. She's got some really cool stuff. But when they had asked her about like her greatest accomplishments in life or anything like that, and she just talked about her kids, and I'm like, I feel that. I feel that. Like everything we do, everything like children and relationships, they help us grow. Like even any relationship that we really put effort into helps growth, and it's exponential. It's not just my growth, it's my growth and my husband's growth and my children's growth, and everyone. And I don't know if that's like a tangent there, but I think that it presents opportunities for growth on so much more than just myself. Like,
Yeah.
that's like incredible. So.
I mean, it is. It's so incredible. And how have you seen, I mean, you and your husband have both faced some big challenges. How do you guys feel like this has helped? I'm going to use the word helped or strengthened your relationship as a true partnership when facing it all.
It's been difficult. Like, and I think because it's been a bit of chaos, right? But there's been a lot of like we have to recenter and be like, I need you because I can't do this by myself, and he can't do his part by himself. And so we've had to recenter a couple times and come back together, because especially while we lived in the hospital, right? Like I was living in the hospital room with my boy. I was sleeping in I made him get me a big bed, right? So I could sleep next to my little boy. And then my husband stayed at a different place with my other boy. And so we didn't see each other all the time, but like we need each other. And it's definitely brought all of those hard things that we've been through, actually, like the home births, they've been significant learning moments of our relationship, and strengthening. I think that sometimes relationships can fall apart in these cases too. I don't think that. I know that they can, right? Because they're really hard, and we have to realize that it's a growth moment, and it's hard for both of us. And if we let that be and talk about it, and be there for each other, like, look, life isn't as we expected it to be or as we want it to be, but this is what we have, and this is where we are, and I love you, and we love each other and we've got it and we are one together. And so it's been really good. I think it's been really, it's been growth. It's been difficult, and it's also been amazing. It's really brought us closer together um, than we were before. So it's each time one of those things has happened in our life, it's like, oh, here we go again. This one's
And
gonna hurt.
what did he think of when you were like, by the way, I think I'm gonna start a business? Like, was he like, sure, go for it, honey? Or was he kind of like, have you lost it? Like, have you looked at the situation in front of us? Have we processed this? Like, are you okay? Like, what was he, how was his reaction to you being like, this is what we're doing? I'm starting a business.
He already knew that I had lost it. So um he was actually really supportive. He doesn't like do the business with me very often, but he'll sell my mix to people, and he tells people about it, and it's great. Actually, I've really appreciated his support, and um, yeah, it's been good. He hasn't normally been like, well, from the beginning. Also, I had told him, I was like, if it ever gets in the way of our relationship or my parenting, and like in the way of our family, because again, I think that that family unit is so important. Like, I don't think that it's worth it to damage that family unit. So if it ever got in the way of that, I'd scrap it. Like, that's it. Like, it doesn't matter um, more than my family unit. And there was one time where it started to be a little bit more like my top priority, and we had a little bit of like come into Jesus moment, and he was very kind about it. He's like, I think that maybe you should think about this. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And I will think about that, and I will adjust things. And um, that was really helpful, and it was kind, and he didn't do it rudely or anything. And I was just glad. I was like, it's true. Okay. I kind of got sidetracked for a minute, and I'm back in here. So, um, and then we were able to, redirect again. So,
And I think that's powerful how you both are willing to face the hard conversations or have that conversation, but yet it's out of a loving way. I mean I've seen many relationships that they're like, oh, we just don't talk about it. I'm like, that's not good. Like, that is nowhere near good. And everybody's like, how do you guys handle it? My husband and I are, at the end of the month, we are facing 14 years of being married together. And I'm like, it's because we talk. We talk it out. We probably communicate more than we probably should or need to, but that's okay. I'd rather overshare than undershare. And we're not afraid of hard conversations or hard situations. Like, the conversations or the situations, we kind of both face it, and we're like, here we go. Like, we do it as a joint partnership, and being able to come to it and go, you know what, you are right, and come with a loving manner is something that's so important, is that portion of it. So I know there's plenty of listeners who are probably like, I don't know if I have that supportive spouse that would be like gung ho for me to start a business. I started mine, and my husband looked at me like I was out my mind. He's like, no, you're not doing this. Like, why would you do that? And he doesn't do the business with me. Like you said, he's here, and he will share my podcast out, and he'll share certain things, but he's not like in it. But at the same time, he's not like not involved, like
yeah.
he's here when needed. But it's kind of interesting. It's interesting how when we come together and we just say it together, the amount of strength that can come from, you don't have to be in it. I just need to know you're here. Like, I just need to know you're
You're
here.
okay with it.
Yeah.
I just need to know that you're okay with that. This is gonna happen.
Yeah. Like, rhetorical question that you ask your child, like, I'm sorry, what did you say? You're like, I didn't need you to repeat it. I heard you. I need you to like just be on board with me here. Like, we're not really asking permission. We're just doing, but I need to know you're here. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also, I think that it helped, not helped, but I think had it been a different time in our relationship where we didn't have as great of communication, and we didn't know each other as well. I mean, I think when you're first married, you're still getting to know each other we're still getting to know each other, and we've been married over 7 years, right? Um, but the first couple years, I don't know if I would have done what I did last year, right? But then after my sister had passed away, and he knew I wasn't well. He knew that my brain was really struggling, and he was just really kind through that whole process. And so, like, for better or worse, he was very kind and generous, I think, and like, you know what, that if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. And I was like, okay, because I'm gonna do it. Okay, I think I'm supposed to do it. So
It's
I did.
awesome. It's so great. If you could, I don't know if it's like, if you could go back and talk to yourself and give yourself advice, or to another mom or woman or friend and give some advice, whether it's business or medically conversated, what advice would you give to the year and a half ago you, or to that person, or even to another mom that kind of might be sitting in that same boat of like, I'm facing this, whether it's the start of a business or a medical baby, or medical situations that they're facing that are hard. What advice would you give them?
Um, I'm going to tell a little short story to share what I would now say, because a couple weeks ago we were in the throes of one of the chemos that makes my child pretty nauseous, and he throws up quite often, and so we carry around these. I'm just going to show you what I have on hand everywhere I go. This little bag, right? I have them all over my house, everywhere, right? We had gone through a bout of that, and it was rough, and he throws up multiple times a day, and we're still trying to figure out what things will help him with his nausea. And then we got through that, and then the next week and a half, he has less nausea, and he's generally a lot better. So we were walking through Costco, and previously going through Costco, he had thrown up in one of those. And I was like, oh, that's really frustrating, but I was at least prepared. I had the stuff, and it's fine. But this particular time I went through Costco, was I was having a bit of anxiety. I didn't have the throw up bag with me, but he wasn't supposed to be like nauseous at that time. And so I wasn't too worried that I hadn't given him nausea medicine, right? Anyway, we were walking through Costco, and I started have well, not started. I had started anxiety. I had started having anxiety before we left, but and it wasn't going away. And I tried to do self talk and like talk myself back to calm and things like that. And it was pretty tough. It wasn't working. I mean, all the thoughts that go through your head with anxiety, it's like good thoughts and bad thoughts and good thoughts and bad thoughts. And it's just a lot of chaos in your mind. So that was happening. And I was just having kind of a hard time, but I was going through Costco, and I'm like, we're going to do this. We're going to get our shopping done. We're going to go home. It's going to be okay. We're all good. Um, and I was walking down the refrigerated aisle, and I'm still having anxiety, but I'm trying to tell myself, just get through the store, get out, you're going to be okay. Just get out. It's all going to be okay. And my child proceeds to vomit. He started to, the cough right before the vomit comes, and I understand that cough now better than anything. And he starts to vomit all over, and all I have is my hands. So I catch it in my hands, and I'm a couple feet away from a garbage can, thankfully. And I push the cart forward with my arms, and I'm like, here we go, right? I just cannot believe this is happening again, right? And I'm having all these like, why didn't I get nausea medicine? And I'm just having lots of anxiety at that peak moment. And anyway, so I dump my hands stuff in the garbage can, and there happened to be a lovely lady close by with some paper towels and some sanitizer spray from her little, the food station. So I asked her for some help with that, and I really just wanted to scream more than anything. I just really wanted to scream, and it just sucks, right? That peak moment of anxiety hurts, and it's frustrating and all the things. And this angel, I'm just going to call her an angel because that is what she is now to me. She was just a person walking through Costco. She stopped, she rubbed my back, and was just like, how are you doing? And it talked to me about um, the treatment. And I had told her that I was having anxiety and all this stuff, and she validated that. And she's like, well, of course you have anxiety. Like, anyone going through this is going to be having a bit of anxiety. And she said something that I just want to shout to everyone and just share, She said, and it's said in a bunch of different ways all the time, but she said to me, one day you'll look back on this. And I thought about that. It's like, it's true. One day this will be in the rear view mirror. And maybe we'll be taking on other hard things, but this is going to pass. So like this too shall pass, or, one day you'll look back.
Yep.
And I was just so grateful for that thought. And throughout the couple weeks and since then, actually, I'm like, this is going to pass. It's going to be okay. I've been through lots of difficult things in my life now. I feel like a lot, I feel like it's a lot. And the light at the end, and like you said, when you look for the light, there's always light that comes after the storm, and we're in the midst of the storm, and that's okay. And that's part of it. And it's awesome. It's terribly awesome. And it's hard. And I see all these different things about it, and know that one day I'll be able to look back on it. And I'm sure with gratitude, like because I feel even grateful for it now, even, and that's a weird thing to say about such a crappy thing. But yeah, that's my advice. What that angel said to me.
It's powerful. That statement is so powerful. I mean, I've heard it in my parents. They're like, one day you'll miss those handprints. You'll miss those little fingerprints on your wall, or the toys that you continue to step on. Like there's gonna be a day where you're gonna miss those, and live for it. Be in the moment now, because you only have right now. Right. And as much as right now might be with blue puke bags and, the mess that it is, be in it, be involved in it. And even if it is a startup business, or it's starting something, or stepping forward nervously, scared, be involved, embrace it. I joke with my husband. I'm like, well, it's time to embrace the suck of this moment. And it, as much as it's like, it does suck, but when you embrace it and you kind of just like do one of these and hug it, it's not as bad.
Yeah. It's not as scary.
It's not. Yes. Maybe that's the difference. It's not as scary. It's still big. It's still messy and nasty. But you kind of look at it and you're like, it's not as scary anymore, because I can at least embrace it, hug it, and not be so petrified of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do we get in touch with you and, find out more about the amazing business you have going? Because I know I'm going to want to get my hands on some pancake mix. And I mean, who doesn't want to turn a fundraiser into something that they actually want, not candy bars and popcorn? Can we just talk about that? I mean, we need to start getting new ideas on the fundraiser attitudes, and I think this is the way that we need to do it. But so how do we get in touch with you and figure out more?
Actually, you can visit my website. So I just have Jarna's Pancakes. It's pretty simple, jarnaspancakes.com. And it also, my Instagram is, the handle is at Jarna's Pancakes. So you can contact me there. You can order on the website, or contact me through the website and order. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for just shining your light today, allowing us to be a part of your world and just sharing all that you have. Your testimony is just so powerful. So thank you for being here. And I continue to pray for you, your family, your little man, especially, and just all that you guys are facing, good and bad, that you guys can get through it, that you can see the light. And I pray for you guys all the time. But thank you. Thank you for being here.
thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'm so glad that we were able to have this time. So thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah. So make sure, guys, as listeners, that you're following along here on the podcast for always new coaches and customers and people coming. But also make sure you get with Jarna and get on these pancakes, guys. Like we need to up the fundraisers and really get our hands on some good stuff. So make sure you go follow her, check out her website, go see what's going on and get in the know, and just go support an amazing mom and her power. So again, thank you guys as listeners. Thank you, Jarna, for being here, and we will talk soon, guys.